Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this video I wanted to show you a few examples comparing procedural versus direct approach when it comes to modeling, UVs, group selection and so on. So this will be a bit all over the place with mixed examples, but hopefully you'll get away with a few techniques. So let's get into it. I want to start with this example where I shared this file before, but when I released that video about the sushi texture, but I wanted to go through the modeling stage. So I start with the box, right? And now I want to select the top and bottom primitives because I want to transform the top. In this case, I don't need the bottom, but I just keep it there so I can, if I need to change the bottom face. So as you can see, I have the bottom and top face, and this could be easily done with the group top. In this case, we would need two, right? So now it makes sense to probably select them using some procedural approach other than the group top. So this is really simple. We start with the box, and then to select the top and bottom primitives, we run a wrangle on primitives, and we just create a sign on the position.y, since this is centered around the centered around the origin. So we can just say the sign of p.y, it will be positive 1 on the top prim and negative 1 on the bottom. So we can just assign to the top the sign is equal to 1, and for the bottom equal to -1. Simple enough, right? Now we can transform the top primitive, for example, to create this shape. Now I want to select these edges, as you can see. So this is not easily done, and I shared a similar technique before, where you can just select, we can run these over vertices. In this case, as you can see, I'm using the top and bottom primitives, constraining this wrangle to the top and bottom primitives. This way, I can just select every other vertex on those primitives, as you can see. So only 2 out of 4. And now I can convert that selection from vertex to edges, and I get these that I can later create a bevel. And as you can see, this bevel has, in this case, I'm not using that. So let me see. In this attribute, just float. Let's see the p-scale. So let's see. We have 2 and 1.5. And I'm running that on points, so it should oh, of course I'm not scaling by attribute, as you can see. So you can use this attribute to just float the default value to have a different value based on a group, for example, or an attribute. As you can see, I'm targeting the top prim in the group, and I can change the value of the bevel there. But at the bottom, using this default value, I can set a default value for all the other edges. As you can see, I can set this to 2 and this one to 1.25. But in this case, I'm not gonna scale by attribute. I'm just gonna leave it default. Then I promote the edges to this point group. And in this case, I'm just selecting the front and back because I will need it. And as you can see, I'm selecting the z-axis in the skip by normals, and also including the normals matching the opposite direction. As you can see, I can select both. Then the other trick I wanted to show you in here is this poly extrude. As you can see, if I disable in here this one, I can do an inset, but as you can see, at some point it will merge all the points. That's how inset works, right? But if I set this to where I had it, so 0.05, and I come to spine control and I play with this thickness ramp, as you can see, I can still have that inset, or I can set it to 0, and I can still, and I don't necessarily merge all the points with the default behavior of the inset, as you can see. That will, of course, the inset is more precise when keeping the length between the boundaries, but in this case, using the thickness ramp gave me the best result, as you can see. And I can group the unshared, and in here I can, as you can see, I'm grouping the unshared, but I'm creating these boundary groups, which means that I will have 2 groups of the unshared. So if I go to points, I have this unshared 0 and unshared 1 for both groups, as you can see. Now I can promote those to edges and use a poly bridge in this case. So by bridging from this unshared 0 to unshared 1, and I can have these results. So it's always useful, beveling, and attribute blur. So I also, before I found about this thickness scale, I was doing something different. So basically, I just inset it a little bit, as you can see, just a tiny bit. Then I grouped the boundary of the extrude front. So I'm outputting this extrude front in here. I grouped the boundary of that group. Then I created some uniform normals on the center points. There's no really point of explaining this, but basically we're creating these normals. Then I'm copying the normals to the other points of the bevel and just picking. So basically the same result. But as you can see, it's not necessarily very accurate. So just something to keep in mind. Now let's move to this croissant example. So the bit I wanted to show you in here is how I did the selection for the UV seams, but I believe that's still some value on how I created this. So we started with the tube. Then we're doing a clip to select to have these only in one axis. Then I'm creating a group of the unshared with, again, these create boundary groups, and then I can promote the one of the boundaries, in this case along the positive z, to edges. And then in order to create these results, instead of me placing like 6 poly extrudes for the extrude, the inset, extrude, inset, I'm just doing in a feedback loop, as you can see. So fetch feedback, and by count, in this case to 2, I can place more. And inside I'm just doing, let me reset this, I'm doing selecting that boundary. So if you can see in here, and I'm extruding along the point normal by these amounts and outputting again the boundary. But as you can see, I'm not preserving the groups because I don't want to have two groups after this, because I already started with this one. And when it goes to the next iteration, it will accumulate. So I'm just unticking the preserve groups. Then I'm doing again another extrusion and saving the same boundary and don't preserve groups. And this way I can do these recursive extrusions. Can you say it's a recursive extrusion? I don't know. So you get this result. Polyfilling, mirroring, and we get something close to croissant. Flattening the bottom with this flatten new node they added, I believe, in Houdini 20. And then I did a simple sculpt just to move the geometry a bit with, I believe I did it with a move brush. And then I subdivide, and I already get something closer, and then another sculpt to refine the shape, just smooth, and maybe create some creases in here, and that's basically it. So that was not very important. The important thing is on how I did these UVs. So the first thing you have to keep in mind is you need to think about where the seams should go. So the least amount of seams, but also that you can get a clean UV map like this one. I can show you something like this. So it makes sense for me to have these UVs running perfectly aligned. And for that, I'm gonna select these themes in here. But I don't want to go around and select all the themes manually, so I'm gonna do a very small selection so I can actually demo in here. So I'm gonna create a group. I don't need a group. I can just go in here to the select and select edges. I know I need this one, this one, this one, and also a seam along here. And I need that one, or instead this one, and this one, and also this one. So something like this. I can create a group. And let me move it. And now we have the group of the edges, and I can just run this to a group find pet. So that's the magic node. And by default it will be on primitive, so I'm gonna select this group 13 and group 13 as base group, and I'm gonna do loops or rings, and as you can see it's already doing something but not in here, so I'm just gonna in this case set it to extend to edge. And I believe I also did, I did close pet, so close pet, and don't avoid self intersections, and we get the seams that we can, as you can see I have the same result in here. and I can do a UV flatten on the seams and also rectify it, because if I don't rectify it, I get the UVs all over the place, as you can see, and when I rectify, I get this clean result. So yeah, that's how I did the UVs for the croissant. So in this next example, I wanted to show you something you can translate from direct modeling in Houdini to procedural modeling. So we have this grid, and I selected a boundary. So now in direct modeling, I can come in here and select points. So let me actually get these points. And if I press H and highlight a point, I can get the boundary. So, or if I select Shift H, I can add to it. And the same happens if I select the outside. So if I do Shift H, I get the extended selection. As you can see, this is pretty useful. And I was wondering how you can create these with procedurally, I mean. So we have the boundary. Now we can select procedurally an inside point. That's what I'm doing in here. So basically, I'm doing this over detail and expanding the point group, so getting all the points of that boundary and then iterating over them. Then I just append to an array the position of that point, and then doing the average, I can measure I can compute the nearest point to the average positions of those points, and I set the point group to start. So the average point position, it will be, or the average point, it will be this one. Then I can do a field boundary, which means I I name it to fill, then I input the start point, which is this one, and the boundary, which is this one, and I flood fill to connected geometry, as you can see. If I just do a simple group expand, it will be something like this, but I want to flood fill. And then I can select a collision group to the boundary, so this way I flood fill that selection, mimicking the same behavior. Then I can group promote it to prims, for example, and include elements entirely contained in the original group. And finally, I can do, for example, an edge selection of the boundary, as you can see, with this group from attribute boundary. So as you can see in here. And as you can see, this is different from having this point selection and promoting two edges. As you can see, it will include these two edges, which I don't want, and I don't have in here. Hopefully it's watchable through the recording or compression on YouTube, but I don't have these edges in here as I have in here with this group promote. And you can try as much as you want with this group promote, it will never behave the same way of having this, doing this setup. So you get a lot of things from this, from the group fill to the primitive promotion and the boundary. So yeah, that was just a quick example of translating from direct modeling to procedural selections, let's say. Now, this one is really simple. Basically, I've done this spray bottle for a tutorial that I never finished, but there's some things I wanted to share. And the main idea is you do procedural if you can, but if you can't and it's just too much, you go direct modeling. And when I say that, for example, in order to create this shape at the top of the spray can, I could have done this with ramps and whatnot with Vex, but it's just so simple to drop a curve and do a revolve, and you're basically done, and you have UVs and so on. But for example, in here, I have this tube to create the main shape of the can, and I filled the end caps, and by default they will be n-gone, so I can easily select them with this group expression by getting these five-sided or greater. So basically a primitive that has a lot of vertices and guns. And then I can poly extrude that part, do a poly bevel, and that's my main shape done with a few subdivisions, and yeah. So an example of going more direct with this drawing of the curve, it's still kind of procedural, but you know what I mean. So for example, in here, I have this shaping that I want to do this inflation, and we can do that easily. So having the shape, we can create a mask in Vex very easily by just computing the length of the vector, in this case the position. And we get something like this that we can later normalize with these attribute normalized floats. In this case, I invert it from 1 to 0, and then we can do just a soft peak. So as you can see, I can input that mask on the soft peak and just play with, oh, in this case, it will be too much. So you can increase it or decrease it. So yeah, that's basically it. I have something else in here. So yeah, the other bit I wanted to show you is that you don't have to select seams procedurally. So it's totally okay to come in here and select the seams manually. As you can see, for this shape, I wanted to select the seams manually. There's no problem doing that, since UV is just, unless you're doing a generator or something like that, there's really no point of selecting all the seams manually. So for example, in here, I have this shape of the cap, and selecting this procedurally doesn't make any sense, or I don't even know if it's possible, so I just selected them manually and feed it to a UV flatten, and there you go. So there's one last thing I wanted to show you, and that's when you try, I have a name attribute in here, so a name attribute for each piece. And I can place, but if I want to send this to cops, I can't really rasterize a string attribute to identify which part I want to texture and create masks. So I can place an enumerate. And if I look at that index, so it doesn't mean much, I need to do it based on name and enumerate pieces. And now I get, as you can see, an index from 0 to 3. But if you have, when you look at the UVs, we have some empty space. And since this one is 0, this one will also rasterize as 0. So we need to offset these by 1. We could easily do that with a wrangle. But instead of placing the enumerate and whatnot, I just do it with this attribute wrangle running on primitive. So basically I'm getting all the values of the name attribute. So base can, cap, and so on. And then I can use the find function to create an index. So I find the name on the unique vals and just increase 1. This way I can have a starting value from 1 to 4, as you can see, and I name it index same way. So when I rasterize this in cops, this one will be a 1 and the background will be 0. So yeah, guys, that's basically the tricks I wanted to show you today. So a bit all over the place, but hopefully you got something out of this. As always, you can grab all these files on my Patreon. I'm gonna upload this entire scene there. And you can also find exclusive tutorials and many hours of exclusive tutorials and courses on my Patreon shop alongside with HDAs. So yeah, have an eye on there. And other than that, thank you for watching and please let me know your feedback below. Thank you.